Yeah, we're really much more of a stick than carrot sort of country.
Do you guys need more sticks? Because we have sticks. We have lots of sticks. Somebody call Lockheed Martin and get these guys some sticks, okay? Let's help them
Are you-
out. They're our friends. Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Very Special Relationship, the show that gazes wistfully across the Atlantic and remembers the time when things weren't utterly insane. I'm your host, Andrea Bridges-Smith, coming to you live in a recorded manner from the States, and with me from the UK is my excellent co-host, Matt Johnston. Matt, what's the latest on your governmental disarray?
Hello, Andrea. The big news politically over here is that although we still don't have a general election date yet, cue Rishi Sunak's stupid laughter, we do seem to be turning into a more normal, lawful and civilised parliament. As a motion put forward by the government saying that MPs should only be barred from parliament if they've been charged with sexual offences. But this was defeated on Monday evening as MPs voted that the bar to barring should instead be being arrested. Currently, you can still attend Parliament even if you've been arrested. So that's obviously good news that we've got this this bill was defeated. So it will be down to a cross-party committee to decide what the appropriate punishment should be. So it'll be down to them whether they decide to bar you or not. Okay. However, this being UK politics, it's not quite as simple as that. The bill the government put forward was defeated by one vote, 170 to 169. And as I was talking about last week, Natalie Elphicke, the former Tory Dover MP and now Labour MP, voted with her new party. But, and this is where things get interesting in a grotesque way, Natalie actually took over the Dover seat from her husband in 2019, and in 2020 was referred to the Commons Select Committee on Standards, and you've got to feel that they're pretty busy these days, when she put undue pressure on a senior judge who was presiding over her husband's case for, any guesses, Andrea?
I'm gonna guess that he's a sex pest.
Yeah, bingo. Sexual assault. So it was her vote that swayed it. It's a funny thing, politics, isn't it? So anyway, come on, Andrew. I know you're dying to dish the dirt on the orangutan, but if you can make it as clean as possible, I've just had my tea.
Well, I'll do my best to not have that come back up. But this week was slightly less salacious. There were no more details about condoms and underwear and the like, so we got that going for us. But we did have Michael Cohen testifying. Now, Michael Cohen, of course, is Trump's former fixer. Are you familiar with that term over there?
I think so, but just to make sure I haven't got it wrong, please fill me in.
So it's basically, in this context, it's someone who makes problems go away by any means necessary. And Michael Cohen was the guy that tried to make the Stormy Daniels problem go away during the 2016 election. And it turns out he did a pretty bad job because now it's the 2024 election and here it is all over again. And I just have to ask, must we reboot everything?
That's Hollywood for you. Yeah, I have to say, every time I see Michael Cohen, he just looks like Lionel Hutz, of Simpsons fame, with a darker side. There's no moral bottom for this guy.
Right. That's actually pretty accurate. So Michael Cohen, he testified to many things. One, the matter at the heart of the case, which was that Trump directed him to kill the Stormy Daniels story and then paid him off with campaign funds. Two, that Trump wasn't worried about his wife at all in all of this, and in fact found her pretty replaceable. Huge shock there. And three, that women preferred Trump to football player Ben Roethlisberger, who is also an accused rapist. Trump was saying that, oh yeah, the ladies like me more than him. And, ladies, with choices like those, maybe we just don't leave the house anymore,
Yeah, that's pretty depressing, really.
Yeah, it's not always great to be a lady. Anyways, Trump also had a rally this past weekend, so he's doing court during the week, rallies on the weekend, takes a little Wednesday break to go do fundraisers and such. And so he was at a rally and he had an interesting speech. So let's take a quick look here.
The late, great Hannibal Lecter is a wonderful man, but Hannibal Lecter, congratulations, the late, great Hannibal Lecter.
So Matt, a lot to unpack there. Thoughts on all of that?
Wow. Yeah, I'm guessing it says a lot about the company he keeps. I notice he does this a lot. He seems to not be able to differentiate, easy for me to say, between reality and fantasy.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
I think he did something about Air Force One, the Harrison Ford film, and Harrison Ford had to point out to him it was a film, you know. Anyway, I can't remember which one the franchise, Hannibal Lecter franchise it was, but there's a point where Hannibal Lecter is tucking into some guy's brain. I mean, he'd starve if he was left with Trump, wouldn't he?
Yeah, there's not much left up there at this point.
Yeah. So, Andrew, if you remember, Adam joined us from Belfast last week.
Yes, which is lovely.
Rather lovely having an extra person on here. And I was a bit jealous, as Northern Ireland seems to be doing a bit better than the rest of us in the UK or UC. Even the ill-fated clown car crash that is the Rwanda bill is toast over there, as the Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission took the government to court saying the bill undermines certain human rights, the important ones. And the judge agreed, which is great for Northern Ireland and not so great for those of us, humans in the rest of the UK.
Well, good for Adam and his fellow Northern Irelandians. Quick question here. How do they have a different human rights commission than you guys? This is, again, it's the whole, there's 4 different countries in this country thing that it has us perpetually confused. So how do you guys have a different human rights commission? How does that work?
Yeah. It's funny enough. It's to do with Brexit and actually the Good Friday Agreement that revolves around Brexit. So there are actual sort of things in there that you can and can't do. That means that certain ways you can't treat individuals, even if they've come from another country. And I can't help feeling, as I say, that the rest of us could really be doing with something like that.
Yeah, that does sound nice. It'd be nice to get that going a little more outwardly.
Yes,
That'd
please.
be good. So Matt, let's move on to a lighter topic. Gaza. Just kidding. So President Biden has warned Netanyahu not to attack Rafah, but it sure seems like he's already attacking Rafah. And Biden has said that that's a red line for him, and he's trying to withhold weapons that could be used in that attack because he doesn't want to be a party to killing innocent civilians. But then, late breaking news, there's a new $1 billion weapons package that's been approved. It's on its way. I mean, truly, it is Schrodinger's arm deal. It's happening, but it's also not. I'm curious if Rishi has any red lines for Israel, or is he just gleefully handing over firepower while doing that weird laugh thing that he does?
Rishi does absolutely have a red line, and it is this. Don't ask him when the general election's taking place, because he's answered that question already, apparently. That's it.
Red
No,
line.
It's not looking like Rishi's got any red lines or indeed backbone. Although, to be fair to him, he has gone from saying he's being concerned to deeply concerned. Yeah, much more of this, and we could be hitting extremely concerned before you know it.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
It's rather kind of mad, isn't it, the world that we're living in, where we turn around and saying, you keep killing people, I'm not going to give you any more guns. All right, just this one gun, but that's it. No more guns. Okay, just this one more gun then. You come on, you promised to stop killing people. Now, okay, I'm going to give you, it's a strange one. Do you think Biden will withhold weapons if Netanyahu attacks Rafah?
I mean, who knows at this point? I do generally think that he's a good person that tries to do the right thing, although usually about 2 to 4 weeks later than we'd all like him to. But now we've got Republicans who are trying to block him from blocking the weapons with the new bill in the House. And now he's saying he's sending weapons right after he said he wouldn't. And the GOP is all outdoing each other to see who loves Israel more. I mean, it's like the world's weirdest dating show, but instead of handing out roses, it's bombs. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, that was the good news, right? So,
sure,
in a bit of a segue here, I have to say, in the UK, as you are, Andrew, we are preparing ourselves for a general election. We're doing so the only way we know how, with a defense spending dick measuring contest.
We love those. We invented those.
Of course, I bow to the master. So Rishi has said that he plans on increasing spending on defense from 2.3 to 2.5% of GDP by 2030. Well, considering they're unlikely to be empowered by then, they might as well go for bust and say 98%. Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous, really. How are they going to do this? By putting people out of work, of course. Sorry, I meant reducing the civil service, which would put people out of work.
Right.
Labour have said they will match it when economic circumstances allow. I mean, what the hell does that even mean? Oh, by the way, in case you're wondering, foreign aid, which used to be 0.7% of GDP, was reduced in 2021 to 0.5% of GDP. Yeah, we're really much more of a stick than carrot sort of country.
Do you guys need more sticks? Because we have sticks. We have lots of sticks. Somebody call Lockheed Martin and get these guys some sticks, okay? Let's help them out. They're our friends.
You can never have enough sticks, right?
That's been our theory for the past 100 years or so. Now, Matt, I know that we are guaranteed an election this year. It's coming up in November. We know it's happening, and I know that you are just stuck praying for one until it happens. And I'm praying right there with you. But there's something interesting going on in our election that I wanted to talk about that I think will make you happy, because it's a huge warning sign for Trump. And I think it's a reason for us to have hope. And I want you to be happy, and I want you to have hope. How does that sound?
Yeah, a little bit of light at the end of what is, after all, a fairly dark tunnel. Do tell.
Yes, so I know you've been worried about the poll numbers. Everyone is, and that is completely understandable. But let me see if I can make you feel better. So we still have primaries going on. Most of them are done, but there's still a few kind of trickling in. And in the Republican primaries, in these latest ones, Nikki Haley is getting about a fifth of the vote. And let me put into context why that's a big deal, because at first glance, you're like, so what? Trump's getting 80% of the vote. He's wiping the floor with her, which is true. But let me ask you this before I dive in any further. What does the voter turnout look like in your elections? Like how many, what percentage of the population is voting?
It's actually, well, I think relatively high. It's basically late 60s to early 70s. The one in 2019, our last general election, was 67%, which is about normal. I'd be surprised if it hits 60% this time round, as both Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer lack the pull power of, say, Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn.
Yes, few people have the raw sexual magnetism of Boris Johnson, so that makes sense. So over here, presidential elections are a big draw. So similar, I think about 66% of eligible voters voted in 2020. Now in a midterm election, which is, kind of the 2 years in between, either side of a presidential election, that number goes down to about 47%. And then when you talk about primaries, in the 2020 presidential primary, that number went down even further to about 33%. And so what that tells us is that even during the big elections, 1/3 of the country stays home and doesn't vote, and that number gets bigger the smaller the election gets, because people don't care about the smaller elections as much as the bigger ones. Like if you take a local election, that number will go down even more. And the reason that people kind of don't pay as close attention, number one, it has to do with media coverage, but number two, voting in America can be a giant pain in the ass. You've got to take unpaid time off work to go and do it. There can be really long lines. You've got to bring your identification with you. So they don't always make it easy.
Right. So what does that mean for the US election then?
So what's happening here is that people are showing up to vote in these primaries this year, and knowing that voting can be difficult, and knowing that it's not as important as the general election, still people are showing up, and 20% of them are taking the time to go through all that and vote for someone who hasn't even been running anymore for the past few months, because that's how badly they hate Donald Trump. They went to all the trouble, they stood in the long lines, they took the time off work to vote for someone who isn't even running anymore, knowing that it wouldn't make a difference. And I think that is a flashing red alarm for Trump in November, and a nice little thing for us.
That is good. Can I ask, though, Does Joe Biden have something similar? Does he have somebody that's left the race sort of a few months ago, and they're kind of, let me, what's Joe Biden's numbers like?
He is getting like in the 90s in his
Oh.
primary votes, so it's definitely much more. There's still, a few people voting for like your Dean Phillips, I think is his name. I don't know. He was not a memorable person, so I don't really remember. But Marianne Williamson, she got out of the race and then she got back in, but she's not really picking up any votes. There's some other third-party candidates that are running too. They're getting some votes, but for the most part in the primaries, he's really running away with it, which is what you're supposed to do. And Trump
Yes.
is not. Obviously, he's winning because he's the only guy on the ticket. But it's weird that there are so many people that are showing up to vote for someone that's not even running anymore. And that's got to be a warning sign for him in November.
Absolutely. The problem for him is that, yes, he kind of either pulls in, I suppose, people that love him no matter what, as you talked about, the kind of real men wear diapers sort of signs, which is extraordinary. But by the same token, people will vote for whoever. So it could be that 20% of Republican voters could switch their vote to Democrats. Is it possible?
It's definitely possible, or they might just stay home. Those are, it's going to be one of those two things. Now, another thing that's interesting is Nikki Haley had an event this weekend just to kind of thank her donors. She just had like some kind of fancy dinner, invited all the rich people that threw money at her just to say thank you for donating to the campaign. She didn't mention Trump. She didn't endorse Trump. She didn't endorse Biden. She just was like, thanks, guys. And that was it. And that's very interesting that she still is not endorsing Trump. If she does, then that could put a thumb on the scales. But if at the last minute she comes out and endorses Biden, that could really make things interesting too. So we should keep an eye on that and see if she ends up making a move in either direction.
I would definitely keep an eye on that via your channel, I should point out, Andrea. So yes, that's I have to say that's all the time we have this week. Thank you very much, everyone. And as I say, if you want to keep up with what's going on over in the US, and you definitely do, they might have a president that's proud to wear diapers. Who knows? You can catch that. Actually, you're already at the channel anyway, at the Phoenix News Network. My channel is at theinterestingtimes.co.uk. I'll look at all the British stuff because there's enough of that going on as well. And we shall be back. We shall be back next week, Andrea, right? I mean, sorry, my channel is coming back in June, by the way. But yes, we're going to be back next week, Andrea, right?
Fantastic. Let's do it.
All right. Take care, all.
Bye-bye.